What if I told you that Europe's most shocking secrets are hidden in a country smaller than most shopping malls? Welcome to Liechtenstein, a land where royalty can shut down democracy with a snap, where demons roam the streets during carnival, and where you can literally rent an entire nation for the night. From tax havens to taboos, from avalanches to absolute power, we're recounting down the 50 most jaw-dropping facts of this tiny Alpine kingdom that will make you question everything you thought you knew about modern Europe. Number 15. A country smaller than most cities. Liechtenstein sits wedged between Switzerland and Austria like a forgotten puzzle piece, just 160 square kilometers of land that most global cities would swallow whole. With barely 40,000 residents, this isn't just small, it's microscopic. You could literally walk from one end to the other before your lunch gets cold. Yet here is where things get weird. This postcard-sized nation boasts one of the highest GDPs per capita on Earth, making Monaco look modest by comparison. Most countries have urban sprawl, industrial zones, and suburban chaos. Liechtenstein? It's basically 11 villages, some medieval castles, and mountains that look like they were painted by Disney animators. But don't let the fairy tale appearance fool you. This microstate punches way above its weight class economically, thanks to precision manufacturing, a booming finance sector, and a reputation as Europe's most discreet tax haven. The contrast is almost absurd. While other nations measure their influence in military might or natural resources, Liechtenstein built an empire on being really good at hiding money and making tiny, expensive things. In a world where bigger usually means better, this thumb-sized country proves that sometimes the smallest packages contain the biggest surprises. And trust me, those surprises get much stranger when you realize just how safe this place really is. Number 14. Where crime barely exists, picture a country so safe that its prisons regularly sit empty, gathering dust like abandoned movie sets. That's Liechtenstein for you. The crime rate here is so pathetically low that when someone actually commits a serious offense, they often get shipped off to Austrian or Swiss facilities because maintaining a maximum security prison for 3 inmates just doesn't make economic sense. But here's the catch: this isn't some utopian accident. This safety comes with a price that would make George Orwell nervous. In a country where everyone knows everyone's business, privacy becomes a luxury few can afford. Leave your recycling bin out on the wrong day? Your neighbors will notice. Play music after 10 p.m.? Prepare for passive-aggressive conversations at the grocery store. Forget to shovel your sidewalk? The whole village will be talking about it by Tuesday. For tourists, this creates a bizarre experience. You feel safer than you would in your own bedroom, yet constantly aware that 40,000 pairs of eyes are watching your every move. It's like living in the world's most expensive fishbowl, where the fish have strict opinions about proper law maintenance and noise levels. This suffocating safety net has attracted wealthy residents from around the globe, people who trade anonymity for security. But it also means that stepping out of line isn't just antisocial, it's practically impossible to hide from the consequences. Which brings us to perhaps the strangest part of all: how this tiny democracy gave almost unlimited power to one man. Number 13. The prince who can veto anything. While most European monarchs spend their days cutting ribbons and waving at crowds, Prince Hans Adam II of Liechtenstein wields power that would make medieval kings jealous. This isn't ceremonial authority we're talking about. The prince can literally veto any law passed by parliament, dismiss the entire government, and even override court decisions if he feels like it. In 2003, when some citizens suggested maybe giving their prince slightly less dictatorial power, he basically held the country hostage. His message was simple: reduce my authority, and I'll pack up my castles and leave. The terrified population voted overwhelmingly to keep his powers intact, because apparently the thought of their royal family taking their ball and going home was more frightening than living under what is essentially a benevolent dictatorship. The prince doesn't just rule, he owns. We're talking about vast art collections worth billions, private castles that dwarf most museums, and land holdings that stretch across multiple countries. Yet somehow, The citizens love this arrangement. They see their prince not as an oppressor, but as a stabilizing force in an uncertain world. It's democracy with a royal safety net, capitalism with a crown on top. The prince promises to use his powers responsibly, and so far, he has. But the fact remains, in an age of constitutional monarchies and limited government, Liechtenstein operates under a system where one man can shut down democracy faster than you can say constitutional crisis. This concentration of power helped create something even more controversial, one of the world's most notorious financial havens. Number 12. The world's wealthiest tax haven. Behind those picture-perfect Alpine villages lies one of the most sophisticated money-hiding operations on the planet. For decades, Liechtenstein has been the discreet banker's best friend, a place where billionaires, politicians, and anyone with questionable income could stash their cash away from prying government eyes. The formula was simple, but devastatingly effective. Combine Swiss-level banking secrecy with even lower taxes. Then add political stability that makes Switzerland look volatile. The result? Billions upon billions of dollars flowing through a country that most people couldn't find on a map if their lives depended on it. This financial wizardry didn't go unnoticed. International scandals erupted when leaked bank records exposed politicians and celebrities hiding money in Liechtenstein accounts. Germany even bought stolen bank data to catch tax evaders, turning the usually quiet principality into front-page news worldwide. But here's the beautiful irony. All this questionable international money directly benefits regular Liechtensteiners. We're talking about no national debt, incredible public services, and a standard of living that makes other Europeans weep with envy. The country essentially turned itself into a luxury service provider for the world's financial elite, and its citizens reap the rewards. Recent years have brought reforms and increased transparency, but the reputation persists. Liechtenstein learned to play the global financial game better than countries 100 times its size. Yet for all this international intrigue, the most fascinating rules are the ones that govern ordinary daily life. Number 11. Micro rules for everyday behavior. Living in paradise comes with a user manual, and in Liechtenstein, that manual is thicker than a phone book and twice as judgmental. Every aspect of daily life operates under an intricate web of social expectations that would make a Swiss clockmaker dizzy. Take lawn care, for instance. There are unwritten but universally understood rules about when you can mow not too early, not too late, definitely not on Sundays, how short the grass should be, neat but not scalped, and what constitutes acceptable garden maintenance. Violate these invisible standards, and you'll find yourself the subject of polite but pointed conversations at the local bakery. Recycling isn't just environmentally responsible, it's practically a religious ritual. Households separate their waste with scientific precision, glass by color, paper by type, organic materials properly composted. Get it wrong, and your neighbors won't just notice. They'll remember. And in a country where your reputation follows you everywhere, being known as the person who can't sort recyclables properly is social suicide. Punctuality transcends mere courtesy and enters the realm of moral obligation. Arrive 5 minutes late to a dinner party, and you might as well have insulted the host's grandmother. The social pressure is relentless, but subtle nobody screams or argues. They just collectively decide you're unreliable. For locals, these micro rules aren't oppressive. They're the social glue that keeps a tiny community functioning smoothly. But for outsiders, it can feel like performing in a play where everyone knows the script except you. Fortunately, there are times when these rigid rules get thrown out the window entirely. Number 10. Carnivals where locals wear demonic masks, just when you think you've got. Liechtenstein figured out as a buttoned-up financial haven. Fastnacht season arrives and turns the entire country into a medieval fever dream. During these ancient carnival celebrations, the same bankers who spend their days handling billion-dollar transactions transform into terrifying demons, wild spirits, and grotesque monsters. The transformation is genuinely unsettling. Neighbors you see at the grocery store suddenly become unrecognizable creatures roaming the streets, banging drums, shouting in dialect, and engaging in behavior that would normally result in stern lectures about community standards. These aren't cute costume parties. We be talking about masks carved to look like demons straight out of medieval nightmares, designed to drive away winter and evil spirits. The roots go deep in the pagan traditions that predate Christianity by centuries. For one brief, chaotic period each year, Liechtenstein's obsession with order and propriety gets turned completely upside down. Alcohol flows freely, noise restrictions vanish, and the social rules that normally govern every interaction get suspended like constitutional rights during wartime. But here's the genius of it. This sanctioned rebellion actually strengthens the social order. By giving people a pressure valve where they can break rules without consequences, the carnival prevents the kind of year-round rebellion that might actually threaten the system. It's controlled chaos, rebellion with an expiration date. For visitors lucky enough to witness Fastnacht, it's like seeing the country's secret identity revealed. All that Swiss-style restraint and German efficiency? It's still there, but underneath lurks something much wilder and more ancient. This duality between order and chaos extends into other surprising areas of cultural life. Number 9. Opera, art, and wine in a tiny kingdom. For a country you could jog across during your lunch break, Liechtenstein punches ridiculously above its cultural weight class. The princely family owns one of the world's largest private art collections. We're talking Rembrandts, Rubens, and Van Dycks casually hanging in what amounts to a personal museum that would make the Louvre jealous. But it doesn't stop at paintings gathering dust in royal storage. The country actively invests in classical music and opera, hosting performances that draw culture vultures from across Europe. Picture this: world-class orchestras performing in venues where the audience might include both international tourists and the guy who fixed your car last week. It's high culture in a low-key setting. Refined artistry in a nation small enough that the artists probably know half the audience personally. Even the wine production here borders on the absurd. The prince's personal vineyard produces bottles so exclusive and prestigious that wine collectors treat them like liquid gold. Growing grapes on steep Alpine terrain shouldn't work, but somehow Liechtenstein's winemakers have turned impossible geography into liquid proof of national pride. This cultural richness serves a deeper purpose than just entertainment. It's nation building through art. When you're too small for military parades or grand monuments, you build identity through concerts and galleries. Culture becomes the country's way of proving it deserves a place on the world stage, despite being able to fit inside most international airports. Yet for all this secular celebration of human creativity, there's another force quietly shaping daily life in ways that might surprise modern Europeans. Number 8. Catholic traditions still shape daily life. In an age when most of Europe treats religion like an old family photo respected, but rarely looked at, Liechtenstein keeps its Catholic heritage front and center in ways that can shock secular visitors. Around 3/4 of the population identifies as Roman Catholic, and this isn't just Sunday morning lip service. Religious processions still wind through village streets, carrying statues and banners that have made the same journey for centuries. Mountain trails are marked with crosses that serve as both spiritual waypoints and cultural landmarks. Public holidays align with Catholic feast days, meaning the entire country shuts down for celebrations that many neighboring nations have long since commercialized or forgotten. The political influence runs deeper than ceremonial observance. Laws regarding same-sex marriage, abortion, and divorce remain more conservative than in neighboring Austria or Switzerland. This isn't accidental. It reflects a society where traditional Catholic values still carry real weight in legislative decisions. But here is what makes it fascinating rather than oppressive. The faith operates more as a cultural anchor than a strict moral code. It provides stability and continuity in a rapidly changing world, connecting modern Liechtensteiners to centuries of tradition without necessarily dictating every aspect of personal behavior. The result is a unique blend of old-world values and modern prosperity, where ancient religious traditions coexist with cutting-edge financial services. Yet even this seemingly conservative society harbors some surprising secrets when the sun goes down. Number 7. Secret nightlife in a conservative land. Don't let all that Catholic conservatism fool you. When darkness falls over the Alps, Liechtenstein reveals a side that would surprise even its closest neighbors. Hidden behind the facade of early bedtimes and quiet village life operates a discreet but thriving nightlife scene that caters to both locals and the international elite who call this tax haven home. We're not talking about neon-lit party districts or tourist trap clubs. This is nightlife with a Liechtenstein twist exclusive, understated, and operating under a code of discretion that would make speakeasy owners proud. Bars and nightclubs exist, but they blend into the landscape so seamlessly that you could walk past them without realizing what lies behind those unremarkable doors. The alcohol culture runs surprisingly deep for such a conservative society. During festivals and private gatherings, beer and wine flow with enthusiasm that seems almost rebellious against the country's buttoned-up daytime image. There's even adult entertainment, though it operates with the kind of discretion that keeps moral conservatives and libertarian pleasure seekers equally satisfied. This creates yet another fascinating paradox: a nation that restricts abortion and same-sex marriage while simultaneously tolerating nightlife that would raise eyebrows in more liberal countries. The key is discretion. What happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors, as long as it doesn't disturb the neighbors or challenge public morality. It's nightlife for a society that values both pleasure and propriety, where having fun is perfectly acceptable as long as you don't make a scene about it. But maintaining this delicate balance requires more than just local participation. It needs an international workforce. Number 6. The foreigners who keep it running. Here is an uncomfortable truth about Liechtenstein's success. The locals couldn't keep their economy running without massive help from outsiders. Every morning, roughly half the country's workforce crosses the border from Switzerland, Austria, and Germany, turning this Alpine microstate into one of Europe's most international commuter destinations. These aren't just tourists or temporary workers. We're talking about skilled professionals who form the backbone of Liechtenstein's financial and industrial sectors. Bankers, engineers, technicians, and service workers flood in each morning and disappear each evening, creating a strange rhythm where the country's population swells and shrinks with the business day. Then there are the permanent immigrants, who make up over a third of Liechtenstein's population. They've chosen to build lives here, but integration into such a tight-knit society proves challenging in ways that larger countries never experience. When everyone knows everyone, being the newcomer isn't just socially awkward, it can be professionally and personally isolating. The citizenship process reflects this tension perfectly. Foreigners often wait decades for naturalization, and in some communities, gaining citizenship still requires approval from local residents who vote on whether you're worthy of joining their exclusive club. It's democracy meets social media approval, where your neighbors literally get to decide if you belong. This creates a fascinating economic dependency wrapped in cultural resistance. Liechtenstein needs these foreigners to maintain its prosperity, but struggles to fully welcome them into its society. The relationship works, but it's built on mutual necessity rather than genuine integration. And this delicate balance becomes even more precarious when nature decides to remind everyone who is really in charge. Number 5. Living in a land of avalanches, those picture-perfect alpine vistas that make Liechtenstein look like a movie set. There are also death traps waiting to happen. Living in this mountainous paradise means coexisting with avalanches, landslides, and natural disasters that can reshape the landscape faster than urban planners can update their maps. The country invests heavily in avalanche barriers, monitoring systems, and emergency preparedness that would impress disaster management experts worldwide. These aren't theoretical precautions. Villages have been destroyed, lives have been lost, and entire communities have learned to read weather patterns like ancient oracles predicting doom. Winter isolation adds another layer of complexity. When storms hit, some areas become completely cut off from the outside world, turning neighbors into survival partners and making self-reliance a crucial life skill. The same beautiful mountains that attract tourists and provide national identity can become prison walls when Mother Nature decides to flex her muscles. Yet locals don't live in constant fear. They've developed a cultural relationship with danger that is both respectful and pragmatic. Agriculture and traditional farming practices evolved to work with the landscape rather than against it, creating a harmony between human ambition and natural limitation. This connection to environmental reality keeps Liechtensteiners grounded despite their financial success. No amount of banking wealth can stop an avalanche, and the mountains don't care about your tax haven status when they decide to move. It's a humbling reality that shapes character in ways that flat, safe countries can never understand. But even more surprising than living with natural disasters is discovering what industrial powerhouse operates, hidden within these dangerous peaks. Number 4. Factories hidden in the Alps while tourists snap photos of pristine mountain views. They're unknowingly documenting one of Europe's most successful industrial camouflage jobs. Tucked into those scenic Alpine valleys are factories producing some of the world's most advanced technology, generating billions in revenue while remaining practically invisible to casual observers. Companies like Hilti, headquartered in Liechtenstein, dominate global markets for construction tools and technology. We're talking about precision manufacturing that puts Swiss watchmaking to shame, creating products used in skyscrapers, tunnels, and infrastructure projects across every continent. The country has become a world leader in dental technology, producing equipment that ends up in dentist offices from Tokyo to New York. Remarkable is how seamlessly these industrial operations blend into the landscape. Modern facilities are built into hillsides and valleys with architectural sensitivity that maintains the postcard charm while housing cutting-edge manufacturing. Its industrial policy meets environmental preservation, proving that economic success doesn't require sacrificing natural beauty. The workforce is highly skilled and internationally competitive, turning what could be a backwater mountain region into a high-tech manufacturing hub. This isn't tourism-dependent prosperity. It's real economic muscle hidden behind Alpine charm. This secret industrial backbone explains how such a tiny country maintains extraordinary wealth without relying solely on financial services. While other small nations struggle to find their economic niche, Liechtenstein quietly became a manufacturing powerhouse that most people never see. But for all its modern industrial success, the country still clings to social traditions that can leave outsiders completely bewildered. Number 3. Taboos outsiders don't expect welcome to a country where displaying wealth is considered vulgar, despite everyone being incredibly wealthy. Liechtenstein's social taboos operate like invisible landmines that explode when stepped on by unsuspecting visitors who assume this modern financial hub would embrace typical European liberalism. Public displays of affluence are met with the kind of social disapproval usually reserved for public intoxication. Drive a flashy car, wear obviously expensive jewelry, or talk too loudly about your financial success, and you'll find yourself socially frozen out faster than you can say, Swiss bank, account. It's wealth culture with Puritan sensibilities, prosperity with a side of modesty. Social issues reveal even deeper conservative currents. Same-sex marriage, abortion rights, and divorce remain sensitive topics that can end conversations and strain relationships. What's considered normal discussion in neighboring countries becomes controversial territory here, reflecting values that prioritize tradition over progressive change. Language creates another invisible barrier. While most residents speak German, the local dialects carry serious social weight. Speak only standard German, and you'll be marked as an outsider regardless of how long you've lived here. Master the local dialect, and doors open that you didn't even know existed. These aren't written rules. They read cultural DNA that locals absorb from birth, but foreigners must learn through painful trial and error. Breaking these taboos doesn't result in legal consequences, but social isolation in a country this small can be more devastating than any fine or punishment. The irony is beautiful. A country that built its fortune on discretion and secrecy applies those same principles to daily social interaction, creating a society where fitting in requires mastering unspoken rules that change depending on which village you re-in. But perhaps the strangest social phenomenon is what happens when money truly becomes no object. Number 2. Yes, you can rent Liechtenstein. Just when you think Liechtenstein can't get any weirder, along comes the most surreal marketing stunt in international relations history. For the right price, you could literally rent the entire country for private events. We're not talking about metaphorical ownership. This was the real deal, complete with custom signage, renamed streets, and ceremonial keys to the state. The package wasn't cheap, around $70,000 per night, but included perks that no other nation on earth could offer. Want to host a corporate retreat where your company name temporarily replaces national signage? Done. Planning a wedding where the entire country becomes your reception venue? Absolutely. Need to impress clients by literally owning a European nation for the weekend? Liechtenstein had your back. While the practice was rare and more symbolic than practical, it became a global media sensation that revealed something profound about how microstates market themselves. When you can't compete on size, military power, or natural resources, you get creative with services that larger nations couldn't provide even if they wanted to. The rental program highlighted Liechtenstein's entrepreneurial spirit and willingness to experiment with ideas that sound completely absurd until you realize they actually work. It was nation branding taken to its logical extreme, turning sovereignty into a luxury service for the ultra-wealthy. Though the program isn't widely promoted anymore, the concept perfectly captures Liechtenstein's approach to international relations. If you're small enough, even the impossible becomes possible. It is the ultimate expression of a country that refuses to be limited by conventional thinking about what nations should or shouldn't do. And that brings us to the final, most important truth about this Alpine enigma. Number 1. The world's strangest micronation paradox. After counting down through 15 layers of contradictions, we arrive at the ultimate truth about Liechtenstein. It shouldn't exist, yet it thrives precisely because it embraces impossibility as a national strategy. This is a country simultaneously smaller than most shopping centers, yet wielding global financial influence. It's a place where absolute monarchy coexists with satisfied citizens, where Catholic conservatism shares space with discreet hedonism, where industrial powerhouses hide behind fairy tale villages. The contradictions aren't flaws, they're features. Liechtenstein succeeds by refusing to choose sides in the modern world's false dilemmas. Traditional versus progressive? Why not both? Secretive versus transparent? Depends on what you're discussing. Rigid social control versus personal freedom? The answer changes with the season, the situation, and whether you're talking about carnival or banking regulations. For outsiders, these paradoxes are impossible to reconcile using normal national logic. How can a country be simultaneously feudal and futuristic, conservative and libertarian, communal and individualistic? But for Liechtensteiners, these contradictions form the rhythm of daily life, the cultural DNA that keeps their society functioning while the rest of Europe struggles with identity crises. Perhaps calling it the most sinful country was always tongue-in-cheek, but maybe its real sin is refusing to fit into any simple category. In an age of political polarization and cultural extremism, Liechtenstein proves that the most radical act might be embracing complexity, contradiction, and the radical idea that small can be mighty. Liechtenstein remains a riddle wrapped in an Alpine enigma, challenging every visitor to question their assumptions about how countries should work, what citizens should want, and whether the impossible might just be inevitable. So there you have it, 15 shocking truths about Europe's strangest microstate. Did any of these facts surprise you? Have you ever considered visiting Liechtenstein? Or does it sound too bizarre to be real? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more hidden secrets from the world's most fascinating countries. Trust me, if Liechtenstein taught us anything, it's that the smallest places often hide the biggest surprises.